Last week I was lucky enough to attend the Lokinui Body, Mind and Spirit Festival in Johannesburg. I even got to speak there, see some amazing people and some amazing things that are available these days. And for more about that, be sure to watch next week's show. We'll be checking in on all of that. But one of the amazing people I met there was author and public speaker Jacques de Villiers, a philosopher in the Sufi and even the Stoic tradition. Your background is, you're a businessman, right?
That's correct.
So what brings you to talking about spiritual things, Stoic philosophies and other philosophies? What's the connection?
So, I have a marketing business, a sales business, and I speak for a living, and I train, and I write. But you also need something to feed you. So whilst you're feeding other people, you need something to feed you. So for me, I chose the spiritual path, which gives me the energy so that I can impart that energy into my real world job. I've tried to mix the two. I've actually tried to teach people spirituality. It hasn't really worked, so then I made a call and said, okay, that's my private thing, I will use that to feed me. And I chose, a path. So I chose Sufism. I don't really care what religion you choose. I just say pick a path and master it. Everyone dips in and out of things because we want a silver bullet to sort us out.
Right.
So I thought, well, this resonated for me, and it's kind of weird because my dad was a Dutch Reformed minister, so he'd probably be rolling in his grave.
Right, because Sufism is a branch of Islam, isn't it?
Yeah, it's absolutely a branch of Islam, and so my dad would probably be rolling in his grave.
Yes.
But he was actually the inspiration of my book, The Fractured Monk, because whilst he was a pastor, he also got up to quite a bit of mischief.
Mm-hmm.
And
As they do.
And I realized that he had the internal struggle himself. So whilst he was trying, and he took the easy route, which a lot of us take, is we try and teach other people stuff, we try and fix them. We're not fixing ourselves. And as Sheikh Abraham said, we're not here to fix the world, we're here to witness that it works. And that's really what it's about. So I don't try and fix people at all. The only thing I can do is try and fix myself.
So does that make us agents of God or spirits working for, part of? If we're here to check that it's working, for who?
Well, the trick is it's got to work for you. So we, in the Sufism, we really self-focused, we inwardly gathered, and we try not to, it's quite difficult, we don't try and project our own content in the world, we try and open space for other people to succeed. So the philosophy I've learned is that we're not here for ourselves, we're solely here for the other. And if you think about it, if we all set each other up for success, we wouldn't have a war in this world, we wouldn't have famine, because people would be more selfless. And what I'm doing is for that is my philosophy.
So in the same way though, if you enable other people to succeed or find their path, that is then you finding your path.
Absolutely. And look, I'm not saying that you can't be selfish. Clearly we have to eat, we have to use. So I'm not totally altruistic. I do need to make a living. But that's to keep life and limb together so that I can be of service.
Well, I think it's one of the common misconceptions about people who follow spiritual paths, that means you should never charge for anything, you should just give the gifts you were given because they were gifts or whatever. And I think, whatever your actual spiritual path, one of the things that's definitely true is that we have to master dealing with life on earth, getting a roof over our head and getting food in our mouths. So, but writing books is kind of out of love because you don't make money that way.
I edit a lot of books.
Yeah.
I've ghostwritten 6 books, actually 8 now, for other authors. And in the South African market, there's not a market. I do it for credibility because if you're an author, people see you're more credible. But I'm under no illusion that it's going to make me my fortune.
But there is a special magic. Even with your book, I picked up your book and the first thing I saw was my favorite poem ever. And it's that library angel moment when you know that somehow this is for you. But I know also that you've got a lot of interest in Carlos Castaneda. Tell us a bit about him, because I think these days he's not so widely known.
No, he's not very well known, and to be honest, no one really knows if he did that journey with Don Juan, because it is speculative.
Because he writes ostensibly as an anthropologist traveling with a shaman.
That's right. But no one knows it because he never took a photo. Remember, he wasn't allowed to take a photo. And of course, in his later life, he kind of became a bit of a cult, and he had all those witches.
Right.
I mean, there was quite a negative. But basically, he was around about in the 60s, and he met this shaman called Don Juan Matiz, I think if I get it correct, and he just wanted to learn how to smoke the devil's weed. So, and then it became, as all journeys, you never know how the journey's going to turn out. It became a long journey, I think 13 years.
Yeah.
Could be mistaken, on and off. And I mean, he's written a lot of books about this whole experience. So his philosophy, well, a lot of stuff appeals to me, and it's about finding the right path, finding a path of heart. Because the challenge is most of us live this unfulfilled life, and our last chapter is the song in you. You don't keep the song in, you want to get it out, and we live these unfulfilled lives. And Castaneda is quite blunt about it, and I've even heard Anthony Robbins kind of say it. So maybe he's read a bit of Castaneda. Is get off the path if it doesn't suit you.
So you mean we're not supposed to find the special path for us? How do we know a path is a path?
Well, according to Castaneda, it makes your heart sing. Does this make your heart sing? Does this fulfill you? Does this work fulfill you?
So it's not about what's at the end of the path.
No, I mean, I've got this weird habit, and I love washing dishes. It's the weirdest thing. Women love me because I'm a dishwasher, but because I can control nothing in my life. But when I'm washing dishes, I'm actually in the zone. I'm dirty, and I actually see something, a definitive thing clean.
Yeah.
I can actually see an outcome. Because in my life, I don't see the outcomes, are all grey areas. They're never quite the outcome I want. So even that, it's kind of it's in the flow. So what makes you? So you video, you do your astrology. That probably you're in the flow. It makes your heart sing. You've been doing it for 30 years.
Yeah.
So you're on the path, but you might come to a point where you want to get off the path because it doesn't serve you.
And that's okay. It's not
that's okay.
You shouldn't be thinking, I did this for 30 years, was that a waste?
No, because it's all brought you to who you are today. Every experience you've had has shaped you into this human that you've become and will become. And it's no path, no wrong turn. There's no wrong turns, by the way. They're all meant to instruct. So you've never made a wrong turn. You think you have, but it's turned you into who you become. And if you reflect back on your own life, some of the wrong turns, the disasters that you had actually became amazing things for you. So in my world, for example, I had a vision, I had a plan of becoming, like my father, a philosopher and a professor at university. I didn't get a university entrance, so already I was cold there.
Right.
So my life turned out, I went into PR, but my life turned into a whole different way, and it wasn't bad or good.
Do we get on the wrong path then?
I mean, the challenge of parents, and we all like this, we want the best for our children.
Yeah.
And we want our children to be secure. So we would say to them, do whatever job. I mean, I think we all started with a safe route.
Yeah.
Very few of us at 20 started with the bliss and the path with the heart. Because we had to put food on the table. But what I've learned, that even if you're putting food, even if you're doing a job that you don't see as like your ultimate job, that job you have to do with 100%, because it's shaping you into the human you're going to become. So, this is what I say to people: if you don't people say, if I change my job, if I move to another company, if I get another job, I'll be happy. I'll be much better. But we know this, and Francis of Assisi said it, that give me the boy and I'll give you the man. We know that our personality, 90% or 95% of our personality is formed by the time we're 6 or 7. There's pretty much nothing you can do after that. So it's hardwired into us. So what I say to people, if if you don't give 100% in this job, doesn't matter what it is, sweeping the floor, being a CEO, washing dishes, if you don't put 100% into that moment, what makes you think that when you move to another place you're going to give 100%? What I say is, the work you do now reveals your character. This is your character. So if, let's use this, if you slapgat in this work, you're going to, I don't care where you move, maybe for a month you'll be fine, but your default setting will come into play, and your character will reveal itself. And work always reveals someone's character.
You take yourself wherever you go, so sooner or later out it pops.
Exactly, and I mean, there's a lovely thing, we all have masks, but one day someone's going to throw a stone at you and you're going to have to duck, and when you duck, the mask is going to move and we're going to see the real you.
Now, your story about washing dishes makes me think of something you've spoken about a lot, and that is living in the now. You know, it's a bit of a buzzword, and people write books called Living in the Now. How does one live in the now? What does it really mean?
Well, that is the big question. I mean, I can preach it, but I'm not good at it. I can tell you that much, because we're always looking at the future. We're looking at what we lack, and the trick I've learned is that, and once again this comes from my teachings, is that just by being born, you have more than is your due. So just by being conscious, you already have more than is your due. You are born full. So now you can give, but most of us think we are born empty, and that's why we're always striving for stuff to fill that emptiness. But we strive, that's why we strive for stuff to fill that emptiness. But we're already born full. So whether you live for 8 days or 80 years, it's already been a blessing. Because I ask people the question, would you rather not have existed, even with all your problems? And most people, 99% of people say, I still would have existed with my problems. Because if you were not conscious, well, you don't know what you're missing. So that's what I'm saying, is that it's, you have more than I do. So anything else is a bonus. But just that you get to play on this planet for a brief time is already more than you.
Yeah.
And the problem is, most people say to me, Jacques, that's a lot of nonsense. And people don't buy that. But I'm going, the reason we're so unhappy is because we think we're empty. We have to have the wife to fulfill it, with our husband, or the job.
I think we need something all the time.
So we try to fill this hole in our chest called insecurity. And it doesn't work, because it doesn't matter what level you reach, there's always someone above you, so you're always feeling more insecure. There's always someone better off than you, there's always someone tougher than you. So trying to compete is actually a futile exercise.
Well, plus we have, advertising or media, all these things keep on telling us what we don't have and we need. We need to buy this thing because we don't have it. Until we've got it, we're incomplete. So there's this constant sense of, I need something I haven't got.
And we always think we need the other to complete us. And that's where the weakness lies, because when you need somebody else to complete you, you become weak and the other becomes strong. And withhold that stuff. I mean, if you look at our constitution, and you can quote me, but in our constitution there's a South African constitution, which is one of the best constitutions in the world. I don't know the exact figures, but I did a word search. There's 120 areas where it talks about rights, human rights, right to freedom of expression, whatever the case. Now, if you want rights, it actually makes you weak, because those that can give the rights can withhold the rights. So if you look at our people that get these grants, I mean, when we had that crisis, they were very weak when it was almost not getting paid, 17 million people or whatever it was. The same constitution that we have, look up the word, do a word search, duties. And if you look at duties, I can't remember, there's something like 12 times it's mentioned, but it's in terms of tariffs and duties like financial duties. Nowhere in that constitution does it say, Mr. President, your duty is to protect your tribe. Father, your duty is to protect your children. Children, your duty is to respect your parents. Husband, your duty is to set your wife up for success. Wife, your duty is to set your husband up for success. Nowhere does it say that. And that's why, because we're such a rights-based country, in my opinion, we become weak, because we just think everyone must give, and that's why when we don't get, we get these acts of violence, like you see the service protests. I'm all for protests, but the violence that happens in them is because people are so frustrated because they're not getting, because they want somebody to fill that empty vessel, which they're not doing. And that's maybe a bit of a political slant, but that's my challenge, is that we seem to be here to take, and we think that who ends with the most toys wins. But this is the truth. When you are born, you are selfish because you need to be selfish, because you need to be fed, you need to be housed, and you need to be clothed. But that's all you actually need. So the parents' contract is to protect the child. But one day when you leave, you become selfless because you cannot take anything with you. We're not Egyptians where we think we'll take our gold with us and we're going to end up somewhere with all our gold and our wealth and whatever. But literally you end up with nothing.
This is the thing that people, as obvious as it is, don't seem to get, that what's the point of ending with everything when you go? Well, you have to leave it all behind.
And think about it, Rod. What makes you feel good? Remember, there's 4 chemicals in your body. There's endorphins, which is the painkiller. There's dopamine, which is your goal-setting drug. And the problem with dopamine is it's addictive as heroin. So most of us live in dopamine. So we compete to be the best. We compete to get the stuff, and that's why companies don't do well, because what we should be doing is we should be doing our serotonin, which is serotonin and oxytocin are the tribal drugs. We should be giving. So for example, if you're successful in your division in your company, what most people do is they don't share the secret, they keep it to themselves because they want to be the best. And that's what happens in these performance appraisals, where people want to be the best. So they don't share the love with the rest of the company. But imagine the old saying, a rising tide lifts all ship. Imagine if you were selfless, you say, hey, we came up with this good idea, let's share it with the whole organization. That's being selfless. And it's our lack mentality. We take as much as we can because we think there's not enough. But there is enough for everybody. Look at the Bushmen, for example. They will say it will be 10 apples or 10 whatever's in the... They'll only take 6 or 4. If they take ostriches for ostrich eggs, they leave some of them to grow. They don't take a whole lot, but we would, as a Western society, we would take all 10 eggs. We wouldn't leave a couple so they can grow into other ostriches and create more ostrich eggs for later. We just want it all.
Yeah.
And that is the challenge that we face. Because we compete in this world. We compete for limited resources. And we should really be collaborating.
Yeah. Something you talk about a lot, which I know the Stoics also talk about a lot, is not focusing on what you don't have control over. The ultimate one being death. You use that Stoic phrase in your talk, memento mori, which is remember you'll die. And it sounds, to a lot of people that sounds depressing, although it's 100% true. What is the value of that?
Well, for me, the whole lesson is, because I know I'm going to die, I try and squeeze as much out of this life as I can. So it actually gives me reason to live a full life and try and do as much as I can and be happy in what I do. Because if death comes, because we live like there's no tomorrow. We all think we're going to die at 80 men will die from 2 to 4 in the morning of a nice heart attack, nicely wrapped up in a bow. You'll feel 5 seconds of pain and you'll be gone. For most of us, that's not going to happen.
No.
We don't know how it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And that's why you need to make the most. And we all do it when we praise people at their grave and we do eulogies for them and tell them they're amazing. But we should be doing that whilst they're living.
Yeah.
But we don't. We should be telling our wife or our husband how wonderful they are right now.
And you mentioned something else which I've often wondered about. You said they carried you mentioned a bead. What was it that Stoics carried to remember? Some kind of
well, no, Stoics carry, well, it can be whatever, talisman, but it normally was a coin. So you can give meaning to anything.
Right.
I use beads because I just happen to. So you can, whenever they see the coin or the bead or whatever they give meaning to, it just gives you a moment to pause. Remember, you'll die, and so now make the most of this moment. And then so it gives you this the new word, not mindfulness. It makes you mindful that hey, could end the second.
It's mindful, not morbid, to carry around this quote that says you will.
Yeah, no, because if you understand that you could die the second. I mean, if I asked you, if I said to you, the Grim Reaper's comes to you one day and says, Rod, you've got 2 weeks to live, and I'm coming for you. What would you do? I don't think you'd be chasing more money. I think you'd be with your wife, you'd be with your family, you'd be building relationships, because that's really what this thing's about for us. But so what happens, Rod, if the Grim Reaper comes and says, actually, I've changed my mind, I'm taking you in the next 5 minutes. I'm taking you in the next second.
I just wait a second, I just want to, that's what I want.
And you've got no choice, so that's when you're going to die with regret and remorse.
Right.
And the difference between giving up your life and having it taken. Giving up your life is you say, hey, this was an awesome experience, doesn't matter how long I've been here, I'm happy to give it up because I had this full life. I've actually sucked the marrow out of the bone. I've given the gift that you have given me, I have used to the fullest. I've created my, what's the word I'm looking for? Magnum opus. But I don't believe there's one magnum opus, there's magnum opus. Right. So in the book that I have, I talk about that, and I say, Muhammad's mother, Jesus' mother, all his mothers, was that their only magnum opus? Creating these beings? Gandhi's mother. But they had other magnum opus. And we all do. So we have a lot. We were born to be excellent. I think so. We were born to whatever the work is that we do. And that's why I love artisans, like, the artists, and because they can create something, but they focus 30 years and then they become, it's beautiful. But if you dip in and out of stuff, you can't become a master.
Well, exactly.
You become sort of this jack of all trades, and it's kind of, and I think that's what we do in religions and philosophies. We pick and choose and dip. I mean, you'll notice in my book very strong. I've got Stoicism, I've got Sufism, and I've got Carlos Castaneda. So I have dipped a bit, but those are the three. Everything's related, and I just say pick a lane and master that lane.
Well, exactly. I mean, I think it's a Chinese saying that says something like, there are many paths up the mountain, and all of them get to the top. Some are stony, and some are smooth, some are long, and some are short. As long as you stick to one path, you'll eventually get to the top of the mountain. If you keep on trying lots of things, you'll know the bottom 100 meters of the mountain incredibly well, but you're not going to go anywhere.
It's beautiful, This moment we're having right now is the only moment we have.
Right.
And that's why we're being courteous to each other by giving full focus to each other in this moment. But many of us don't do that. We're with our wife, our kids, whatever, but we're on the cell phone, we're on this. We have a couple of things, and we're actually we're being discourteous to the person by, I don't see you, I'm not fully with you, I'm not fully in the moment. So this living in the moment is hard, I can promise you. I mean, I preach it, but I sometimes feel like a big fake because I don't live in the moment as much as I should. Not even nearly as much as I should. The spiritual journey is always, it's like walking through a marsh. It's difficult. You get 2 steps forward and you think you failed, but you never fail in the spiritual journey. It's just lessons.
Because there's a little battle with ourselves. We have that part that wants the comfort and safety of the material world all the time, and to accumulate stuff because of that insecurity.
But I know the Sufi path is not to be sitting on the mountain and being some guru. You actually have to engage in the world because that's your real test.
Your book gives people a good taste of how those philosophies are practically applied.
So if you look at the beads, I've tried to show the fractured monk, which are broken beads. Because it's not perfect. And when you deal in this world, it's never going to be perfect. You're going to have ego, you're going to have all the things that human beings have. It is on Amazon.
Okay, so they can find it
on Amazon.
What advice, what tip could you give in closing for people to take away?
Okay, so I'd like to do it through a metaphor of a story.
Okay.
So this little boy goes to his father and says, Daddy, please play with me. And the father says, look, son, I'm really busy. Go and play with your sister. He said, no, I don't want to do that. Well, go and ride the red bike we bought you for Christmas. Nah. So the father wants to get his son out of his hair, so he said, what am I going to do? So he goes to a chest of drawers and he finds a magazine, a Time magazine, and he opens it up. And in the middle of the magazine is a map of the world. He takes the map and he rips it out and he tears it up into strips and squares and shuffles it into a box and puts some sellotape on top of it. He says, son, what I want you to do is I want you to go to your room and I want you to stick this map together as perfectly as you can. You've got 2 hours. And he said, when you finish, come and show Daddy and we'll go and play. 15 minutes later, the boy comes and says, Daddy, Daddy. He says, what? I finished. He says, that's amazing. And the boy holds up the map and it's a good job. He said, how did you do that? He said, Daddy, it was easy because at the back of the map was a picture of a man. And I figured if I could get the man right, the world would fall into place. And that's really what I tell people. If you can get it right here and here, your world will fall into place.
Be sure to watch next week for a glimpse at the amazing stuff happening at that Lakini Body, Mind and Spirit Festival last week. So you're going to be sure not to miss it next year once you see all the amazing people and things that I spoke to.